I know the reason.
We have no other business before this board agency, so I'll make a motion to adjourn, which is Paul first.
I'll second.
Ed, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? We stand adjourned and we move to the Redevelopment Corporation. There you go, John.
If
Thank
we
you.
can just wait one quick second for a couple additional folks to join.
It's been fantastic.
Well,
I'm thrilled.
she had something to do.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
There's no reason it shouldn't be. All of them.
I agree. Aren't you glad you got there last? Agree 100%. Mustard seed.
Oh,
yeah.
He's a good teacher.
Or they give you a pen.
Yeah.
I have no idea where that.
This is Allied Motion.
I didn't even know it was
Their
there.
corporate name.
Oh, from To
It's
Align?
great for
Yeah, that's their
what
corporate
used to be a
name.
$10 lunch, is now
You wanted to
$14 lunch.
Did you really work for Alien? No, it was outside. I was like, how did they?
Okay, Sarah, we're just waiting for Sarah Bullock
Did you like that article?
Jen Voss, as well as a
Mustard
couple of.
Mark.
There's Jen.
Thank you.
How about that?
Do I know that? Just two signatures, Peggy?
I believe so, yeah. Double check it, because there's a couple of spots.
Interesting. I'd actually say, I'd make the arguments, you can't find a better lunch.
Marshall, are we ready yet, or?
Still waiting for a couple of people here.
Especially soup.
Where's that?
Yeah.
But they're sandwiches, you know, they're
The project I helped on.
We're talking about lunch.
Henderson.
mustard seed.
Oh, they do have a great lunch. Yeah,
There's a
you're right.
pilot at
10,
40.
well, what was 10? It's now $14.
The 14's still very reasonable. That was a thing of soup and a fairly decent sized sandwich.
Yeah.
I put them both back here, wrote the article while I was eating, so.
You wrote, I was thinking Robin wrote the article, you wrote the article.
So
He did.
that made John then call John,
No,
because I
not
saw
yet.
John, I said, hey, don't be surprised
he's
when
waiting
you
for one
call
other
for
person.
a solar project. in
Really,
Denver.
Yep, has
We're actually
She
waiting for
put an extension on
Sarah
it.
Bullock,
So,
to join
more
us,
to talk about.
as well as
Agreed.
some
Thank
folks that are working with us on the BOA, which is the Brownfield Opportunity Area Program.
Hey, Ryan, once we get done, if you want, stick around for a minute and you can answer any questions on all of that.
Are you gonna stay for the 10 o'clock here? Perfect.
You need a couple more meetings today.
All right, Sarah.
I gotta go home and take a nap.
Hi, Sarah. Did you hear back from Lisa Nagel?
Did you get a high dad, John?
What's that?
Did you get a high dad?
Don't believe I heard. Hi, Dad.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Did you hear from Lisa Nagel by any chance?
So Lisa, I don't believe is gonna join us, but Susan is, and so will Jen Voss.
Okay, Jen's with us right now. Have you heard back from Susan?
Yes, she will be joining us.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's give her just one more minute here. Sorry, I'm got a lot of moving parts on these. We had 2 meetings before, and they were great. They were great meetings.
Thanks for a long morning.
I'll just have it, cause I gotta switch.
Would it
this
be
in, so I'll have
possible for
somebody
you,
else
Sarah,
look
to
at it.
text her to see if she's able to?
Oh,
There she
there
is. There's Lisa anyway. Maybe she's using the same Zoom account.
Could be.
That's that other-
All right, Marcia, we ready?
Yeah. Just make sure that,
Hey, see you later.
Have a good day, Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
You're in the lead on that. Let me know.
Yeah, if you see anything, then let me know. Did Dylan go to the airport? Yeah. Brian, do you have confidence that those guys reworking the formula have the expertise? to do it,
Okay.
right?
Lisa, we can't see you. Is that you or Susan?
They'll find some creative way to get around it.
There you are.
They've already done it twice.
Hello.
The state, this formula, state.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to get started.
All right, we'll officially call the DeFerrier Redevelopment Corporation meeting to order. Marshall, first order of business, if you can do some introductions as to who is online with us.
Absolutely. So we have, in starting this meeting, we have Sarah Bullock, and there's Susan right there. We have Sarah Bullock, who is working on the DeFerrier BOA, as well as Lisa Nagel and Susan, who are both with EDR, who is working on the BOA. We have the mayor of DeFerrier, Joe Cook, as well as, and Paul, I always forget your title. It's the town of Wilna, right? Supervisor? Okay, great. We have Jen Voss, who's with
ESC.
DOL, the Department of State. Department of State. And then I guess that pretty much covers the crew here. The chair of the DRC is John Condino, as well as our regular board members. So if that's okay,
Thank you.
certainly.
Okay, the minutes from the last meeting. I do have a question on the minutes.
Okay.
Justin, there was a discussion at the last meeting about creating a non-voting member of the board of directors. Has anything been done with that?
Nothing's been done formally. If there's a desire for the board to establish an emeritus position or an ability to identify someone to join meetings and participate in an advisory capacity and provide their thoughts on ongoing matters, you can establish that in your bylaws. If you want to adopt a bylaw revision to create that non-voting position, I can put something together if you'd like.
The minutes reflect, Justin, that it sounded as if doing a bylaw amendment was a bit onerous and we could do it simply by a resolution between the JCIDA and the DRC.
Well, the board of directors has the rights to amend their bylaws to a certain extent, and the IDA as the member can supersede that decision if it decides to do so. But if you want to tweak your bylaws, it's a matter of maybe adding a few sentences.
Okay.
If you want us to undertake that, I can provide a red line and get that on an agenda for the DRC board if you'd like to adopt.
Okay, and I know that that question was asked last month, and I thought it was going to be prepared for this month's meeting.
We've I guess I'd like to continue to work with Mayor Cook on that and sort of identify the appropriate person.
Okay,
And then let's revisit that if we can.
that's fine.
When we've got that piece figured out.
Particular person or just a position?
I'd like to work with the mayor on that. and to
Yeah.
find the appropriate person,
That's fine.
if that works.
That's fine. That answers this question. Then you'll work on that.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't believe there's any unfinished business, Marshall,
Nope,
and I believe new business is the reason we have all the guests
Yeah.
on board for an update.
Yep.
I think Sarah was going to lead that discussion.
Yep, I'm happy to. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, as Marshall said, I'm Sarah Bullock. I am with the town of Wilna. I'm the community development coordinator. And we really want to talk to you today about our project, the BOA, the Brownfield Opportunity Area study that we're doing in DeFerriet. You may or may not be familiar with it, but we're going to give you an update on it and talk to you a little bit about why it matters to this group moving forward with redevelopment. So in 2023, the town of Wilna and the village of DeFerriet received a joint grant from the Department of State for a Brownfield Opportunity Area nomination study. And the purpose of it is really to study the area and to come up with ideas for reuse and a pathway forward for redevelopment of the community. So I don't know if you have in front of you the boundary map that we identified as part of this study, but you might see the boundary map actually is not just the village of DeFerriet, it is the entirety of the village, but it also extends outside of the village. And the reason why is because there's former mill property that extends outside of the village boundary that we wanted to include in the study. So altogether, the study is 627 acres and approximately 200 of those acres are the former mill properties. It's important to keep in mind when we're talking about this, though, that the definition of brownfield, according to the Department of State, it's a little bit different than what I think a lot of people think brownfield is environmentally contaminated, but it doesn't necessarily mean specifically that. According to the Department of State, a brownfield is any property that is vacant, abandoned, underutilized, and potentially environmentally contaminated. So obviously, I think it's pretty obvious, given the 200-acre former mill property, that fits that description. But it also includes the former gas station along Route 3 in DeFerriet. It includes some of the green space that is owned by the village that is being, underutilized at this time, or maybe could be used for other purposes going forward. So this study is not specific to the mill property. It is a village redevelopment study, but obviously highlights that is indeed the heartbeat of what we're looking at, is that big site. But it does include all of these other sites as well. So altogether, I believe there's 18 sites that we've kind of looked at, which includes, this vacant property, green space that can be redeveloped for other purposes. And why is this important to you? So right now, this BOA plan is a project for the town and the village. But what's really going to matter is what comes later, and that is pursuing the redevelopment of the property. So it's our understanding that once the Restore New York project is completed by Jefferson County, that the property will then be turned over to the DeFerriet Redevelopment Corporation, at which time it'll be this group's responsibility to continue seeking the cleanup and redevelopment of the site. This BOA helps to identify those steps that need to be taken in order to do that. It's really fantastic. Having worked with Lisa in the past in Lions Falls, we're really fortunate here because this group is already established. And you have your membership and you're able to move forward with these meetings and have an idea of what to do going forward. A lot of these BOA communities aren't that far advanced when it comes to that. So we're really fortunate that we have this corporation already identified. Obviously, it's not going to be all on you. This is going to be a partnership with the town, the village, the county, economic development. But being the owner of that large property or that site is going to be your responsibility, as the owner to pursue that as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the process that we've been going through over the last couple of years, because it is a process. As if you're familiar with planning, it's a process. Nothing happens overnight. And once that plan is in place, obviously it takes time to put things into action and make things happen. So over the past 2 years, we've had a small steering committee that's included representation from the village board, village residents, the town, Tug Hill Commission, Jefferson County, Marshall sits on our committee. We have a business owner in the area that's on the committee. And the committee has been tasked, and EDR has led the way on identifying, obviously we've done an existing conditions analysis. What do we already have in the community? Where are we lacking? What do we need to improve on? But we have surveyed the community, albeit a small community and a very small survey and responses. But from that, we are identifying or have identified these potential sites for redevelopment and also some ideas for reuse. So right now, EDR, our consultant, is in the midst of preparing the nomination study. And that study will then be turned over to the community for review, but ultimately, and the whole goal of this process is to get the designation. So the Secretary of State, New York State Secretary of State, ultimately has the deciding factor as to whether or not the DeFerriet BOA will be a designated BOA. And why does that matter? Well, because once you have that designation, it opens the door to further funding for phase 2 site assessments, for environmental remediation, for brownfield tax credits, if you've ever done a consolidated funding application, you know that there is a box that you can check if you are a BOA community, and you immediately are given extra points because you are a BOA community who is following through with the action items that were identified in that nomination study. So right now, this 2-year process that we've been going through has really been to get us in a position that we will then get that designation from the Secretary of State. And that is a game changer for the communities, and certainly for the property owners going forward when you want to do further analysis, remediation, and then ultimately marketing the site for redevelopment. I wasn't really going to go through all the details of future reuse ideas that are coming from this, but I mean we can talk about things if you'd like. But really, the purpose today was to give you an idea of what is being done right now and what it's going to mean for you as the future owner of a substantial part of this BOA study area, and how we can work together moving forward. But I guess I'll ask Lisa and Susan if you have anything that you think we should add to this, and then open up to questions.
Not necessarily. I thought you covered it great. I think maybe just emphasize one point. We've talked this over with Marshall, but having worked on BOAs around the state and just kind of major reuse, redevelopment of major projects. One of them is the city of Utica's harbor. There's actually a harbor there. Not many people know it. It's kind of on the right as you come into downtown. And we've been working on that for 10 years, actually, and it started with a plan, a master plan. It wasn't funded by BOA, but it's the same process. And one of the pieces, and we've received millions of dollars of state funding, both from the Department of State and Empire State Development, both of those entities. We've made public improvements. We're selling property to private landowners, and subdividing it, et cetera, et cetera. We've done a lot of work in 10 years. It's about almost 200 acres, so it takes a while. And we had some costly items. But the key to all of that was that the city of Utica established the Utica Local Development Corporation, the Utica Harbor Local Development Corporation. And that was the entity that received the land from the Canal Corporation. So it's really the same mechanism that you've established with your Ferry Redevelopment Corporation. And all the other BOAs that we're working in, this mechanism isn't there, but it's always one of the prime recommendations, typically one of the prime recommendations, because you have to have some ability. The village and the town can't do it. As you all know, sitting on this board, LDC's got different abilities than communities, municipalities have. And it's those things that we need to tap, plus you're sort of the intermediary when you're dealing with hazardous materials, et cetera. So so the fact that you have established the Ferry Redevelopment Corporation and are about to receive this property is so exciting and critical to the redevelopment of really the village, as Sarah said, the mill property, but also around the mill property. It's quite a large area. And we're going to outline we've gone through recommendations, but we're kind of lifting out priorities in terms of like priority projects and the priority recommendation. And one of them is how this entity can really help specific ways in which you can help redevelop these properties. So, it's great. Kudos to Section County for thinking this through and establishing this. And, as Sarah said, we wanted to kind of tell you where we were and, maybe continue to be aware of what the DRC is planning to do. I think it's like a committee of your LDC or something of this nature. But, we can work with Marshall on that because he's on our committee. But anyway, we really wanted to just kind of talk to you as the entity that's really likely going to be the driver, or in my opinion, it should be the driver because I've seen it work. I've seen it work in Utica and other places, and it's great. It's a super mechanism for getting this path forward.
Lisa's just emphasizing how, and not to put words in your mouth, how great we were for getting the LDC started.
All right.
Appreciate that
We were
input.
really excited about it when Marshall shared it with us. I was like, that's fantastic, and the village is small, and the mayor's been involved, and he's on the call today. And so we've been also trying to impress upon our steering committee how fantastic this is as a mechanism to get these lands redeveloped. And encouraging, I think the village and the town obviously are on this committee, the DRC, in some ways. I know the village is very challenged with, capacity. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges, right? Even the capacity to sit on this group. Even that's hard. We only have 300 people in that village. And so, finding, volunteers, people raise their hand and be like, yeah, I'll do it, is hard. So, helping the village and the town, and town supervisor, Paul, it's kind of like an educational piece too with them, right? In terms of what you can do, and working closely with them. So there's some hand holding, I think, that's probably going to have to happen just because of limited capacity, right? And this is new. This is a new idea, and the village and the town are very eager, obviously, to get these lands redeveloped.
I have a quick question. The planning process, when the planning process is done, you're hoping with the community to have sort of your conceptual projects. You know what, conceptually what you'll be, and is the deliverable then to have cost estimates for those each, with some sort of conceptual so that you're ready to start applying for grants, or?
Not quite that far. We'll have a conceptual kind of a framework plan for redevelopment and kind of what can go where. One of our sub-consultants on our team is an economist, real estate expert, and he, did a study of the area in terms of what likely could work from an economic standpoint in terms of redevelopment ideas, and we have that product for him. And so we then take that information and say, okay, Todd Poole is his name from forward planning. This is what Todd's telling us. How can we, place these things on the land? And that's about as far as BOA takes it. But as Sarah said, once the BOA plan is nominated, and fully nominated and therefore designated are the words that are used, you're in the BOA club. And you can go back for implementation dollars in the BOA, specific to the BOA program, for to advance any of these things. So if there is, because it's a lot of land, right? But let's say, we want to take where some of the buildings are coming down and being remediated and coming down, and say, this is the area that we want to focus on for either redevelopment or cleanup or whatever it is. You can go back to the Department of State and get additional dollars to refine your analysis of a particular part or the whole thing even, but probably it's just big. So it's great. I call it the BOA Club. It's funded each year in the state budget. And then you do have to submit an application, but you're competing against a much smaller pool of folks, right? Because there's not that many designated BOAs in the state.
So, Lisa, what is your estimated timeline to be admitted to the club, to have the nomination accepted?
Probably, I think we're aiming for this year to be designated. And then that will set the village and the town and the DeFerrier, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can. The village and the town will always have to be the applicant. It has to be the municipality.
Right.
Which is what we've done in Utica, even though it's the Utica Harbor Point Development Corporation, who I've been working with. We've got multiple state grants through the city, and that has funded, the work that we've done, because it has to be in a municipality. But anyway, so that would set the village and the town up for next year's, so 2026, consolidated funding application.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the update, certainly. Puts a little clarity, I think, for this board,
Yep.
kind of why this was put together and why this was formed. Anything else for the update, Sarah?
Can I ask
No, I
one?
haven't.
Can I ask one quick question?
Right.
What is the scope of the BOA plan? I mean, is that published online?
There is a
We will be
website.
soon.
Okay.
Do we have it up on the website?
I don't know if it's on the website, but if you go to DeFerrietBOA.com, you'll see some preliminary information at least there. I don't know if it's completely updated or not. That's, I guess, Lisa.
Does the initial
Yeah.
plan include a pro forma of redevelopment opportunities and market study for the mill site?
The latter, not the pro forma part, but the latter, a market study. So, Marshall, I mean, if this format works for you all, we'd be happy to make another presentation at whatever, at your convenience, to go through those recommendations, the market study and the recommendation and the physical plan, with this board so that you can see it.
Yeah.
Happy to walk you through all that.
Absolutely.
I think that would be a great next step.
Yeah.
Trying to
And-
understand
and-
where this is going.
Yeah. In Lions Falls, there was a lot of public input sessions and stuff like that. Maybe I'm late to the table here, but those are things that I would be interested in attending. I think most of us here would be interested in participating. Maybe they've already happened, but
We had one, an initial one, which was just sort of like trying to get ideas, but we are in the process of scheduling the second one to share these recommendations. So we would love if we could get the word out, because
And I think it
we
would
did the
be,
survey.
it would be helpful
Sarah
for,
literally went door to door to door to door to door to door. Every single door. And we got hardly any participation. So
understood. It would be helpful for, I think, this board, and for the county, at least to be informed, what your schedules are, what your meetings are. And I think the idea of having a follow-up session, Marshall, so we can get a better idea of what the BOA work is, put together so far, would be very helpful.
Does this organization have any budget, no matter how small it may be?
The DRC?
Yeah.
Not currently.
Not at this point, not currently.
Okay, so we may think about maybe it's county funding or some other source, but tagging on to the market study, a pro forma for the site, kind of really getting some budget numbers about what redevelopment would look like and kind of, give some revenue projections. I mean, that seemed to be the thing in Lions Falls that has rewarded developers, which we've never quite landed anyone, but that's an important piece of the puzzle. So if the BOA project puts in the marketing data, we can extrapolate from that, some of the reuse data.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great first step. And in our market study, we asked Todd to think through how to generate revenue for this DRC actually. And he has some ideas in there, so it might be good. I think it would be good to present to this board the recommendations, the market study, and the physical plan, maybe even before we go to the public, so that you all can review it like a stakeholder group, right, and a sounding board.
Marshall, maybe you could take the lead on putting this together relatively soon?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, anything else to add, or anybody else online?
No, that's great. This is going in a really good direction.
This has been very helpful today.
Yeah.
Again, it's put some real clarity to our efforts here. Appreciate everyone participating.
And Mayor Cook, I'll reach out to you, and so we'll put our heads together on any potential additions to the board from a local input perspective.
Okay, yeah, we're trying to reach out to people to get some help on this, and it's hard to get any participation. A lot of the people in the village are like new people or part-time, military, and then it's not like in the old days when everyone used to work at the mill and everybody participated in everything in the village. So
Right.
we're reaching out there. We got some feelers out because I know we need some help with this, getting people on the committee. So
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And Supervisor, really appreciate you guys being patient. I know over the last couple of months, there's been a couple of times when our other meetings have run long, and this has been extremely helpful today.
Yep.
And let's follow through with that session.
Yep.
And move on from there.
Great. Yep.
Thanks, nice to see everybody. Thanks, John.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need a
Bye-bye.
motion to adjourn?
Yes, we do. Yeah, if there's no further business to bring before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Paul, Mayor, appreciate it. Justin?
Recording stopped.
I didn't know if they had a website.